Welcome to a special King's Birthday edition of Hot and Cold in KFC SuperCoach. Let's see who starred and who flopped in round 13. He's not in many KFC SuperCoach teams, just over 1,000 to be exact, so those players would be extremely happy, to say the least, with Tex Walker putting up the first 200 plus KFC SuperCoach score of the year. 208 points against the Eagles in his 250th game, if you don't mind. 10 goals, of course, and he had 7 of those by half-time when the game was still alive, I guess, at least in the early stages, before they got completely blown out of the water. 18 kicks, 3 handballs, so nice ratio there. 11 marks, 5 of those contested. Just a brilliant night for Taylor Walker and his KFC SuperCoach owners. I wouldn't recommend trading him in. In fact, don't trade him in. But if you had him on Saturday night, you would be absolutely laughing. And this is a guy that a lot of us have in our KFC SuperCoach teams. Josh Dunkley, picked him at the start of the year, just lock him away and you know you're going to get a good score every week. He's on an absolute hot streak at the moment, and that continued against Hawthorn at the MCG, even though the Lions battled a bit. No worries for Josh. Just another mammoth game for him. 148 KFC SuperCoach points, 28 touches, 15 contested. That's what he's so good at. 11 tackles, kicked a goal as well. That's 8 straight scores of 100 points or more for Josh, and his past 5, he's averaging 140. So really the only thing I was kicking myself watching him is, why am I not thinking about making this guy captain every single week? Another guy who is running hot at the moment, would be a huge pod if you've got him in your team, is SHAI Bolton. He was fantastic all night against the Dockers and then absolutely lit it up in the final quarter when the points were up for grabs. The game was on the line. That's what the KFC SuperCoach scorers love. 14 disposals in the last quarter, and he iced the game with a big contested mark and a goal right at the death. So 151 points for SHAI, and he's absolutely flying at the moment. That's his second score above 150 in his past 5 games, and in that bracket he's also had a 139 and a 120. So he's in red hot form. He's 560 odd K. He'll go up a little bit after the weekend, but not a heap. So he's not insanely expensive, but if you got him, another player who is absolutely killing it in KFC SuperCoach. Who was cold this week? Now, in a best 18 scoring round, especially with only 2 teams on the bye, some poor scores were able to drop out of our tally this week. So hopefully this isn't going to hurt people too much. But Tom Green is someone I've got a little watch on, a little slight concern. We had him coming into these last 2 games with 2 what looked like favourable matchups on paper, Richmond and North Melbourne. Usually concede some points to opposition midfielders, but he hasn't quite been able to get it done. He had 35 touches against Richmond, but only managed the 89 points. And then against North on the weekend, started really slowly, finished with 26 disposals, but there was only 2 tackles, only 1 mark, and he didn't hit the scoreboard at all. So just the 77 points for Tom Green. So I don't think he's going to be in the best 18 scorers for most squads that he's in. I mean, he's had a pretty good year, but when we picked him at the start of the season, thought he was a bargain in the low 500k range, and his price basically hasn't moved. So it's been a little bit underwhelming. Now, this is the Phantoms, boys. So, Phantom, we need you to get on the phone to Tom Green and rev him up for a big run home to the finish line. If Tom Green is a watch, there are huge alarm bells ringing for Patrick Cripps. I'm not really sure what's going on here with the Carlton skipper. That's 8 games in a row under 100, a season low 58 points against the Bombers on Sunday night. Very, very slow. Only, I think, 2 touches in the first quarter, 8 by half time when the game was still close, and finished with 19. Got a few in the last quarter, but by then the game was done and dusted. Only the 4 kicks, 15 handballs, not the ratio we want for KFC SuperCoach. Only 2 tackles, and he didn't hit the scoreboard either. So all the things that can help you push up your KFC SuperCoach score just wasn't happening for Cripps, and just not happening at the moment for him or the Blues. So his price has dropped. It's under 500k, and it's going to keep going down. So after Carlton has their bye in round 15, I mean, he is someone you could potentially look at. He might be 450 grand or something like that, but I think we would want to see a turnaround in form before we look to pick him up. Of course, Jake Lloyd is not a wingman. I traded in Lloyd this week. I know quite a few people did. For me, he was a replacement for Jack Ziebell, and then of course Ziebell goes out and plays like his old self yesterday, which was always a risk, but I thought Lloyd was going to be a really good replacement. He's been in great form this season, but for some reason Longmire moved him up the ground playing on a wing for the first 3 quarters against the Saints on Thursday night, and he just could not get into the game. Had 28 points at 3/4 time, and I was pulling my hair out watching the TV. And in the last quarter, he moves back to his customary role in defence and responds with just the stats we know he can produce. 11 disposals, he took 3 kick-ins, even got up the ground and kicked a goal. So, of course, you saw how well that worked. We don't want to mess around with these things. Just put Lloydie in defence. You'll be fine, and I'll be a happy SuperCoacher.